mistakes. Mistakes cost lives, or the ruination of lives, or the ruination of a dream, and it becomes a nightmare. But we're in the business of errors, and you're quite right. They should be here, because they will have just come off a hard week. And what I'd like to have seen, and I have to say, the timing was as such, I had hoped they would be here saying, this is what we encountered last week. Here were the young people that we found with potential. This is what they were getting up to. They should plug into you. You're there able to, by their engagement, able to motivate them. Because sport and the arts can only engage them. The motivation comes that by that engagement, you're able to motivate them along. And we supplement and add value along the way. Because that gift will have been identified. And as I've discovered, there's more than enough activity and leisure prepared to make accessible activity for those that join up and belong to something. But that will come later, but it is a very valid point. I was disappointed. I will share with you, they might argue that they were exhausted from last week's activities. But they should be here saying, this has been our experience. This is what we have found. This is what we add value by helping you deliver what you do as part of that collective effort. Does anyone have a view? Would anyone know what was going on and delivered last week? No, just as an interest. I mean, was there a hell of a lot going on? Was it communicated? You know, has any of the good news or bad news been shared?
The positive activities now has been picked up by youth service. It doesn't belong to the yachts anymore. And we've had budget cuts massively over the last 2-3 years. So they are restricted in what they can actually do on a daily basis with the youth and the days are being cut from 4 to 5 days midweek. So their hands are tied by legislation as well.
But I do know that coming from, I used to work with Blackpool detached team as well, and I do know that they work in conjunction with Bernardo's. Bernardo's are ploughing money into the detached team to go out into the fleet to do things, not necessarily coming from the youth service, Blackpool Council, coming from funding through Bernardo's.
Oh, by the way, the third sector are going to be the biggest force you have to in some way engage with or do business with. As you can see, the local authorities are being given back some of what was taken away from them. But as part of that negotiation, the third sector and East progress in the Youth Charter, we're a United Nations non-governmental organisation. All we are social brokers. That's what I try and do, because I can see where people don't connect or they miss one another. But you socially broker a win-win-win, first and foremost for the young people, that we're all committed and signed up to serving and assisting and supporting. But my concern is in London that isn't shared. That's why it's so important to get together. By the way, it was here that we had the NEAT, wasn't it, multi-agency forums that meet 4 times a year. And Janet, then with the LSC, invited me in with my tap in and said, this is possibly where you can plug in the invaluable formal and informal intelligence that helps you do your jobs better. Because you all want quality of life. How much of this work actually stresses you? How many of you enjoy the work that you're doing? Let's have the honest hand up. How many of you enjoy the work that you're doing?
I don't think it's work with the young people that stresses you. It's the targets.
Yeah. So it's not the young people, but it's the targets.
That's really valid.
That is so important. But no one shares it. Now, I've got to be honest with you, no politician would understand that, and they won't be told that, because the advisors ain't going to tell them, because they ain't got a job. Targets inform policy. They decide how much money is put back into the policies that are in place. Everybody knows every child matters. That's for children, and everyone knows that youth matters is for young people. How many of you have actually seen that document? Yeah. And have you seen the Youth Matters document? Those are the 2 documents you need to understand. If you've got those 2 documents, then you're on your way. For us, it was about providing a cultural framework that would add value to that. By the way, numbers are a reality, but we've got to learn to work within what we've got. And I'm of the opinion, if the targets are unrealistic, work beyond them. Because I've yet to see a politician locally or nationally, or a businessman not be impressed by a project, a program, or an individual that makes them stop and think. Do you know that all major policies that have been changed in this country have resulted as a result of tragedy? They were not some inspirational politician. So we can't blame government or politicians because they can only respond. Do you imagine when they get in with their tray? What do I do today? You've got to put it on the agenda. So when something happens, like Gary, you love, now we've seen sentences changed in 6 months. Victoria Campbell, Every Child Matters. Stephen Lawrence, the Lawrence Report, but they still trashed his facility 2 weeks ago. A wonderful testament, an architect centre for any kid who aspires to be an architect. It was trashed in a week. What does that remind us? We should never be comfortable. In the comfort zone of believing that ignorance just goes away. It's consistently with us. Right, I've said enough. That's where we're at. We're having the discussion. By the way, this alone, if nothing else happens, is invaluable. It's priceless. Because it informs me, that informs you, and helps you, more importantly, do what you've got to do. They used to say the youth service were all the rebellious post-war hippies who couldn't find anything else to do. And they, as a result, passed all their behaviour on to a generation that was me. And then we passed it on. It's an intergenerational thing. If we really wanted to sort this out, all we would do is sit the young people down with the pensioners. By the way, I sent to Age Concern a proposal that says I want all pensioners that have been villains. And I went, there's got to be a few of them. Will you sit down some of the old villains and gangsters with some of the young villains and gangsters? And you know what happens? They realise there's nothing that ain't been tried already, and they're not still up to. But as they say, we never got caught. And we never crossed the line. We had a discipline, there was a code. There were behaviours that were acceptable. You didn't touch old ladies. You didn't kill one another, because that's losing. Everybody loses, because everybody knew one another. It's a brilliant, it's an amazing challenge, but all I can say is, what a wonderful opportunity. You have to get into that mindset. Every day is a competition, but we don't lose. We never lose. Because it's a win-win-win. And you've got to develop that emotional armour. That's why the stress levels have to be managed. How many of you take part in any form of activity or exercise? Wonderful. You need it. I took 2 weeks off, so I was going to actually try and test myself. After reaching the age of 50, I did a session I've not done for some years, and it took me 2 weeks to recover. So much for like thinking I'm young enough to be old enough and experienced enough. And I started getting quite disruptive. I started being a really bad pain when people started tooting me on the horn, especially when I'm sitting in traffic and trying to get somewhere. And I was on the tube in London Underground. If you want something that pushes the emotional buttons, go on London Underground. You don't have to do all that. You like the Cockney slang. I was down there for a week. The most amazing thing about youth culture is how they tune in. And my children go and they meet their cousins. And Jordan says, Mum. And Renee, my niece, goes, Mum! And you can see them, they just can't quite click. And then in about a couple of hours, they tune in. That's all we got to do. I still say we're on long wave. We need to get to medium wave. Get to medium wave, we'll have the right balance. I need us to break into 4 teams, please. We're going to, and you can't work with the colleagues you work with. You're going to work with colleagues you've never met. And we're going to put a plus and a minus. The burning issues. What works, what doesn't work. What's good, what's bad. Now I've got to be able to read it. Yeah.
What's good?
What's good, what's bad.
But also, we used to go around forums, around the place where there's no climbing walls. And we try and offer free climbing lessons to anybody. To anybody. We're from 9 years old to 16 years old. Yeah. Don't know.
What about 36?
I don't think they are.
safer connections, things like energisers that we do, we'd be very restricted in the amount.
The other minus, I think, is that it's limited availability, so what's going to replace it? It's been highlighted that it's valuable, what's going to replace it? So it's
When it goes, yeah.
When you started this job in January, I'm literally seeing it from some moments like the same at school. No idea. So I'm actually stumbling across this.
You got no form that tells you agencies is what you do.
They're buried on websites. I think from that point, we got like many.
Is that when you perseverance from who? From the young people, is that what we're saying? I don't know.
Most of the things we enjoy are a result of conflict. So when we talk about peace, we must understand we need peace as a consequence of war. And what we're trying to do is reduce the aggression and channel that constructively. I learnt this looking at what army personnel do, and I thought if we can use that for all the right reasons of improving our communities, then they won't be asking the army to become school teachers, they won't be asking armies to run our adventure, outdoor pursuits, they won't be asking, by the way, they've called the troops in. Are you aware they've called the troops in? Just an honest question, are you aware that the troops are already in our communities, in our schools, running outdoor pursuit activities, positive activity?
But not actually in our schools.
In Moss Side they are, and they're in a number of inner cities. We now have retired army personnel in schools. Now we know it's serious. By the way, post-war, you either went in the army or in prison. Most of Britain's winners post-war went through potential bad boy route. The girls were very well behaved in that, so I don't know what they were doing, but they were very well behaved. They're all boys. And they had a choice. What I'm saying is, and as you say, pilot projects are the way it's all, we'll have a few pilot projects and then we'll roll it out. So it may not be here yet, but it will soon be at a community near you. I actually believe you can do it. You're doing it now. This is theatre. You're in theatre. This is what occupying forces do. Because, by the way, they're about hearts and minds. In Afghanistan, the forces are using these approaches because they want to save their lives and the lives of their comrades. So they try and find any intervention that will ensure that that happens. This was also used in South Africa to try and bring two culturally polarised cultures of political ideology together. And they hated one another. And they brought them to a nice retreat and they sort of gave them to us and they said, sort it out. That was pressure. There are lots of pluses, there are lots of negatives. Your team names are even inspirational. So already I can say we've had an exceptional couple of hours. So you understand how naturally it's supposed to synergise. I did send out some questionnaires pre you coming here today. By the way, this will all be typed up. It's all linked into the day, and then you have something that's produced and you look at it. Everything reflects what then needs to be the next phase. Biggest single challenge facing young people from learning and earning a living: society, status quo. Anyone come up with any of those as a negative?
You've got the age.
Okay. What's the single biggest thing you'd like to see change in helping you, your organisation? Assist the NEAT agenda, promoting young people achievement in the media, positive imagery. I know that's come up. Are young people simply part of the solution or part of the problem? Part of the solution. Choice. Yes? How do you currently engage and motivate the young people you come into contact with? Engage, motivate and value. Is communicating with or understanding youth culture a major challenge for you? No. How important do you think sport and cultural activity are as tools to help you engage, motivate and inspire the young people you come into contact with? Very important. Qualifications, education, more opportunities, informal education, they go hand in hand. Yes, engage, motivate, value, having the right resources and using them effectively. Low expectations, untapped potential, investment in young people before they are neat, which suggests they might have been untidy, but they shouldn't be neat in the first place. But then again, they shouldn't be untidy. Engage, motivate, value, again, and that's 3 individuals coming up with the same messages. Better use of, vital, shared commitment to invest in our young people. Lack of aspiration to succeed. The quality of education. More resources are needed in the way of home help. That's all feedback. That gave me an idea, but then it has to be confirmed. And then it has to be reflected in what you start to come up with by way of your respective professional routes. But you've already started to engage. You've already started to identify the common issues, the burning issues. Our special guests have already arrived. As I said, young people continue to be my eyes and ears, inspiration and sheer challenge in how we respond to them. We're going to have a coffee break. They will be naturally engaging. I'd like you to please make them welcome. I would argue they're as nervous of you, maybe as you are of them. I don't know. This is the exciting bit for me. Hell of a lot of hard work's gone in, and I'll soon know within this brief coffee break as to whether the hard work will have paid off. But all I can say, coach to athlete, we're doing some seriously quality work. Let's see where the next step takes us. But this will be the interesting step in the journey. Thank you for your time thus far. This is the most important part of the day for me. It's where the real engagement takes place. For those agencies that are committed, and we spent the morning talking about the plus and minuses, what we'd like to see happen, what's good, what's bad, what needs to improve. But I think we won't actually know what that means until we hear from the individual, the client, the customer. I've heard them called. They've called you a few other names. Sorry, but these are my special guests. We've only met once, but they all turned up. So that means something connected. I take a lot more satisfaction out of connecting with that lot than you lot. Because I like still being a juvenile at the end of the day. I hope you haven't all lost the ability to be young. See, I've been like this all morning. It's not you. They're warming up. The honest discussion is just that. It's about having a question, and they have some questions, and if I'm not telling the truth, say shut up, then listen. Because we're going to hear what they've got to say. But most of the honest discussion comes from some questions. Because as I spoke to them yesterday, they were all scanning me and saying, is he for real? Is he spinning a yarn? Or is he just here today and gone tomorrow? And that's still being asked, what's going to happen next? Agreed? What happens next is what you make happen. I can only facilitate the social program. So, if you just say who you are and what you want to be, that's the best way of going. She'll go nice and warm, we can warm our hands and then we move on.
My name's Samantha. I want to do something with like retail and working myself up like through customer service and end up owning my own shop one day. Amy out at Chelsea Colleges.
Check that one out. Between the ears.
I am Sophie and I want to do health and social care for people.
I'm Ashley and I want to be a bricklayer.
I'm Riz and I want to work in construction.
I'm Madeline and I want to go to childcare.
I'm Craig, I want to be a paint and decorator.
I'm Jay and I want to be a panel reader.
Now these are all perfectly achievable and realistic aspirations, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question, because it explains, and all these people are here to help you at some stage of your disaffection or your willingness to make a life choice. It's a general question. Do you think the agencies deliver for and on your behalf?
Not all the time.
Not all the time. No. No. We can all go home now. But that's why we're staying. The customer says no. In any other business, we either have a crisis meeting, review the strategy, the brand, the product range, and how we go about our business, or we go down. We no longer trade. We cease to exist. Why do you not have any confidence in us? Do you trust us? Is the question. Do you trust the agencies that are supposed to help you?
Not really.
Not really.
Well,
Why?
it depends, doesn't it? It depends on who you can talk to, really, because not everyone in the college you can speak to. Like, a lot of people you can talk on the same wavelength, and other times you'll meet someone that is doing the same job but talks down to you rather than to you, and sometimes that's hard.
By the way, that was the single biggest message I took from last night's engagement. Talking down to them rather than to them. It's the single biggest reason that the language does not engage. Why?
We're all the same, aren't we? No one's any better than me just because they're getting a bit more money. It doesn't make them special. You might have a good job and a good car, but we're all the same at the end of the day. It shouldn't be spoken to any different. But then we get ourselves into trouble. If we react to the fact that we've been spoken down to, we're then to blame for opposing an argument as such.
Gobby inty.
Certainly.
Sorry, that's what I get, the feel I get from most of you. Gobby inty.
Speaks a lot of truth, though.
But he's telling the truth. The truth will set you free. He's telling the truth.
And it
But
takes,
at the end of the day, for most of you, thought, Gobby, little soul. I go on the democracy of emotion. Can I have a response?
Can I? Yeah, can I? Absolutely.
I think the problem, part of, sorry, what was your name? Ashley. I honestly believe the people that he's referring to probably need to be here today, genuinely, because that happens among staff as well, because you're saying, yeah, we'll talk down to us. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're now getting somewhere. Remember I said it was a question of language.
Right, I'm probably the key worker for the majority of this there, actually. I'll be related to...
Thank you.
No, I think I'll be like most young people.
Okay.
Well, I'm not speaking on our wavelength. I've got an idea who you're talking about when you said that, when you referred to it. What would you like to change at Ben East or E2E in your learning?
In general, with E2E it's been great. If I'm perfect, no, it has.
I know actually referral actually, don't I? And I know what...
No, but that's just it. When I went to Blackpool and the Fylde, I did bricklaying for the first year. When I went to do my second year, I couldn't get on because the course was too full. Now, when I've come to Ben East, I was out of education for a couple of months. Come to Ben East, first thing I've done, found me 2 different placements. Fair enough, one's fallen through, but I've had another one to fall on today. So, in that sense, Ben East as itself has done well for me. It's the bigger ages, you know, your Blackpool and the Fylde College. Well, I passed the full course, and I'm only talking for myself, but I passed one course with the full marks that I needed. So then I wasn't allowed to go on to the second year course because it was full. Well, fair enough, but there should be somewhere else to go.
Why though?
Just because the course was full. That was the only excuse that they gave.
Actually, I'm taking this quite personal, actually, because the reason why I am, because I'm the learning mentor in construction at Blackpool Park College.
Oh, God. Get the trowel out!
And I know Ashley. I know him. And
oh, God.
I find it quite personal. Well, no. I'm going to have to go back at it. The fact is that you knew You knew who I was at the college, you know what my role was, and you didn't come to me. I went,
I'm going to stop you right there. This is cultural.
Yeah.
Different cultures have different ways of doing things. You smile straight away because you know exactly what I'm talking about. I still have elders say, them not come to us. Ain't gonna happen. They ain't doing it anymore. We have to go to them.
Right.
We have to engage them. We have to take the extra step. We've lost a generation of the Afro-Caribbean youth culture because it was fire and brimstone at church. They were going to go to hell if they didn't behave, and they were going to get licks if they were on the streets. The interfaith movement were consulted by government and asked, what do we need to do? And they beat them within an inch of their life. And I went, I'd like to see who's going to go and try it. Times have changed. And we all said, they will come to us. By the way, it is intercultural. Most of the older generation, they'll come to us. Why should they? Why should you go to them? Or do you believe they should come to you? Why?
Well, they've got more confidence than us. We're young, you know. Well, no, it's like you haven't got more confidence as us. We might be the same, but they know what we want.
Going back to Ashley, sorry mate.
Yeah, I was trying to get you off the hook, man. My man's hooked into it, so please express it.
Right. The reason why I said that, you know, you should come to me is the fact that, you know what I mean, you know, we're just human. At the end of the day, we only can deal with your problem, right? If you speak to us, you know. If I can't deal with